roles then. And what did the ARP wardens do?
ARP wardens were probably soldiers that had been in the war and things like that, but were too old then to go in to fight in the war. So their job was to go round and patrol, possibly at night as well. They had to work at night sometimes, telling people if they got their curtains opened a little bit, they had to make sure all their curtains, because you had special material called blackout, which was totally black material, so that when the German planes came over, then they wouldn't be able to see that you got a light on, so therefore they think there was nothing there if it was very, very dark, and not bomb there, because obviously they wanted to bomb the factories and the docks where the ships were coming in to stop everything happening in this country. And they used to carry around a box like this. You can see this box here that says, it says ARP, because that's the first aid box, and then it's getting a bit old now, so but it's got bandages in it and a sling and cotton wool and all the things they might do if they'd gone round and a house had been bombed and somebody been a bit injured before they were driven away, often in an ambulance by a lady, to take them to hospital. So they had to carry that round. And one extra special thing that you always had to carry round was your gas mask. That like those ladies were wearing then. I can't take it out because, as you can see, it's getting very, very old, and the leather's getting very, very crinkly, and it's not safe to take it out, so it stays in its bag. But wherever you went, you had to carry one of these. And the children, often we all had to carry a mask, but ours had, I think, a picture of Mickey Mouse on it, so it made it a bit more fun and not quite. So they us to carry ours around that had a Mickey Mouse picture on the front.
More friendly.
Some of the children.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say some of the children were evacuated. I don't know if you know what that means. It means they had to leave their homes, and they had to go and live somewhere else, because most of them were living a lot of people live in London, and they had to go and live somewhere else because they couldn't stay in London because there were too many bombs and it wasn't being safe. So they decided that people were going to get taken and be looked after, go by train and be looked after some people that sometimes they knew if they got relations that lived in the country, but side or away from London, but sometimes it was places they didn't know, and they were sent to work and to live on farms and things like that. But when you went, you had this round your neck, a label on a piece of string that said your name on it. Don't know whether it's upside down. There we are, a name on it. That's actually, have I got it in the right place?
Yes,
it says it. Adam's uncle. And on a bit of string around your neck, and you had to keep that on so they knew who you were. And you had to take an identity card that showed who you were.
Yeah.
Identity card that said, and your address and everything inside it, where you lived at home. You, of course, had to take your gas mask because you had to go with you everywhere. And, of course, the other thing you had to take with you was your ration book, because obviously the people that were going to look after you were going to feed you as well. And and then you had to fill in a form, which is a form that I had, because my mother was going to take us to the seaside where my grandparents lived, but in the end we didn't have to go. So you had to fill in the form with all the ages of children that were going to go and stay with other relatives. But yes, so but sometimes it worked, and sometimes got a bit homesick if they couldn't see their mums or dads for a while. But I think some of them, because they'd never seen cows or sheep or anything like that, had a fun time living on a farm or seeing things in a different place.
Very exciting. And what about the people that stayed in London who live right in the centre? What did they have to do if there was an air raid and they were out and about?
Well, because I don't know if you have been to London a lot, but as you know, in London, most of the trains, we have got the tube line, the underground, and therefore they're dug very deep in the underground sometimes. And so the people would be sleeping down there. If there was a plane coming over with bombs, you heard a siren, which made a special noise if something was coming. So everybody rushed. I think they'd left sleeping bags down there and things like that, and taken some food. And they all had to rush, go down the steps and down lots and lots of steps down into underneath the ground and sleep on the platforms because and take some sleeping bags and pillows and things down there. So they stayed down there till somebody that was up nearer the top, like one of these wardens that we talked about earlier, they would say, and then they'd hear another siren, which is a different noise, saying it's all clear, you can all come out again. But they were safe underground because the bombs couldn't go that far. So yeah, so that was where a lot of people lived underground. So
wow, can't be very comfortable to sleep on a platform, can it?
no.
Planes coming over and bombing. Your friend Gladys had a very important job during the war, didn't she?
She certainly did. This friend of mine, she's now 99 years old, and she had a special job in the war. They over at an RAF station where a lot of the pilots were. She had to work. She was only 19, even younger than Gemma, the teacher. And she had to go. They dug a big hole in the ground, which they called the hole in the ground. And then they had to go down there, and then they had a very special job that they had to plot where that all the planes were coming in. It was like having a lot of tiddlywinks or counters on this big table, and they were fed some information that they heard people it was coming, and they called them radar stations, and they could tell that, and they had to plot when the German planes were going to come over, where they were going to be, and then they relayed it back to our Air Force people, so our pilots could rush and get on their planes and go up in the sky to try to stop the German planes coming over and bombing us. So that was a very, very special job. Nobody knew what they were doing. She couldn't tell anybody she couldn't tell her parents what she did, nothing like that. She just had to work, and she said it was horrible. She said it was all dark, well, not dark, but not very nice being in this big place underground, because she said it was very smoky as well, not very nice under there. But that's the job she wanted to do, and she had a very special job, and very, very important role.
She's the last surviving person that did that job. So if you search Gladys Eva into Google Children, you might be able to find out some information about her. She did an interview recently, and there's lots more information about the job and what she did, so maybe you can research it a bit and let me know what you find out. My last question for you today, Grandma, is what is VE Day? Because we're learning about this because the 75th anniversary is coming up in a couple of weeks. So what is VE Day, and how did they celebrate?
Sorry, you cut out a bit there, but I will tell you, yes, VE means victory in Europe, and it was in 1945, and they declared that the war was over. There was going to be no more fighting. So of course that was absolutely fantastic news. So a lot of people went up to London. The soldiers were there in uniform. There were lots of ladies in uniform because lots of them were in the Navy and the RAF and the Army. There were a few women in that there, and obviously the Land Army girls that we talked about. They all went up there, and there was lots of singing, dancing, and a huge party with thousands of people that gathered to celebrate that at last all the things that we put up with during the war was over, and that was hopefully the last time there would ever be such a horrible thing. But it was a big celebration, and it's 75 years in May, and that's what there's going to be, some celebrations.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Grandma, and for telling us all lots more about the war. I've certainly learnt a lot, so thank you.
My pleasure. Bye.
Okay, everyone, now you've listened to the interview, can you do some research, jot down some facts that you learnt from my grandma, and also can you see if you can find out anything else and pop it on a page for me all about World War II. Thank you.